Assalamu alaikum. In this video, I will show you how to execute the logging example in chapter 3. So here I have Eclipse, but now it's open on workspace of chapter 2. So I will switch workspace. Okay, I will open workspace for chapter 3. So these workspaces, you can download them from the GitHub repository of the course. So if you clone the repository, you should have this. This is the current state or status of the repository. Maybe in the future we will have more code for other chapters, but now that's the content of the repository. As you can see here, this is the repository. So in chapter 3, there is only one project for now. So I will open that workspace using Eclipse, and I'll show you how to execute that example. So it's an example about logging using SL4j. Okay. So now Eclipse is opening. Okay, so this is the example. First example about logging. If you want to look at how the example is organized, so this structure here is generated by Maven. Okay, so here we are using Maven to manage dependencies. Dependencies are the libraries that are needed for the project. Okay, so when you create a project using Maven, you go to File, then New Project, then Maven Project. Then Maven will create the same structure as this one. So the main file that you have in Maven is this pom.xml. It contains a declaration of all the dependencies of your project. Currently, these are the two dependencies that are needed. You can switch to this view here, dependencies, which is more readable. So now we have these two libraries. I will remove this one for now, just to demonstrate how SL4j works. So SL4j is a logging library, but it is only a facade. It is a facade to, from which you can call different other libraries. Okay. So my code here, let me show you the code. For now, these two files are not important. We can remove them, okay, but I will keep them because I don't want to have to rewrite these. So this is the only file that is important now. Okay, if you look at this file, we are here creating a logger using this class logger factory. Okay, so logger factory is imported from SL4j. Okay, I did not create a package, but anyways, so here our code is only dependent on SL4j. It doesn't have any dependency to any other logging library. Okay, so SL4j is a facade. It's not a real logging library. It's just a facade that from which you can access concrete logging libraries. Okay, so we'll see how this works. So we have first of all to create a logger, and we have to give the name of the class to this function. So returns a logger name corresponding to the class passed as parameter using the statically bound iLogger factory instance. Okay, so there is an instance here that is created. So this is a utility class that will get a logging instance, and this logging instance is fetched by SL4j from the other dependencies present in the project. Okay, so here, as you can see, we don't have other dependencies. We don't have any logging libraries. So SL4j will not be able to find one. Okay, so if we try to execute now, let's look at what will happen if we execute. So to execute the code with Maven, we have first to call this script. Okay, we need to execute here the goals clean package. So what are these goals? These goals are the different goals that you can execute in Maven. Okay, so I'll show you. We have a short description here. So if you go to the documentation of Maven, which is an Apache project, here you have uh, what they call the life cycle phases or the build life cycle of Maven. Okay, so it has different phases. So you can execute this goal, this goal, this goal, or any one of these goals. Okay, so we have also the clean command that we can execute. So for example, if you want to deploy, you execute mvn clean deploy. Okay, from the command line, you can do that, or from the interface of Eclipse, we will just target the package phase. So these are phases. If you execute deploy, it will execute all of these one after the other. But we just want to stop at this level, okay, to generate the executable, the compiled code. Okay, so we'll execute clean package. Okay, so we run. We had to save. I did not save, so now it was saved. The POM XML was saved. Now it will execute all the goals until the package goal, and it will generate a jar. The jar is the executable. Okay, so now we can execute the code by right-clicking on the project, not on the POM, and run as Java application. So as you can see, we executed the code. Okay, so we have output this 2 plus 5 equals 2 plus 3 is 5. But before that, we could not log these messages. I'll talk about these later. It is saying no SL4j providers were found, yeah, which means that SL4j could not find any concrete logger. Okay, it's just a facade. It cannot log by itself. It needs concrete loggers. So it has defaulted to no operation logger implementation. SL4j has the default logger with it, which is called NOP, no operation, which doesn't do anything. Okay, so we need to provide SL4j with a concrete logger. Okay, so to do that, we have to import or to specify a dependency here to a concrete logger. So the first concrete logger that we can add explicitly is the same logger that is the no op logger. So it has this group ID artifact inversion. So in Maven, every library that you can import with Maven, you have to specify these what they call coordinates. Okay, the group ID, artifact ID, and version. So when specifying these, Maven will download that library from the repository. So it's a repository on the internet, on the web, which contains a lot of libraries, and you have to search for these coordinates on that library, on that repository. So here, for example, I am using this repository here. So here I searched for this library, which is called Logback Classic. Okay, so it will give you here the version, the latest version of the library, and then it will give you here this is um, the group ID, and this is the artifact ID. Okay, so you can search for any library, and then you can find this information here. If you click here, you will get you will get this information. So this is the group ID, this is the artifact ID, and this is the version. So you can copy this from here, and then you can add it to your pom.xml, or you can do it from this interface, which is much better. So SLF4j, sorry, SLF4j, that's the group ID, and then the artifact ID, SLF4j, no operation, and the version is the same as the current SLF4j API that I'm using. Once I click on OK, it will be imported here, added to the dependencies. I save. Then I have to rebuild. Now I have to rebuild the project. So I will re-execute clean package. So clean will remove any previously compiled code, and then package will execute the Maven scripts that will compile our code and generate the jar. Now we have generated the jar, the executable. Now we can run the application by clicking on the project, right-clicking on the project, run as Java application. And as you can see now, we don't have that message anymore, but we don't have any logging. Why? Because this library will not do anything, okay? So let's remove it and replace it by a real library. So I will use logback. So I will add logback. So as you have seen in Maven Central, it's ch.qos quality of service.logback for the group ID, and then for the artifact ID, it's logback classic. And then the version, the latest version is 1.5.15. Now, of course, we have to save. Then we have to rebuild, run as Maven build clean package. We rebuild everything. Then we can run our application. And as you can see now, we have these logging messages that have been displayed. We still have, of course, the system.out, this one, but now we have these debugging messages that were displayed. So as you can see, we have, first of all, the time. Then here we have the name of the thread. Then here we have what they call the priority. Okay, so the different logging messages can have different priorities. As you can see here, we have debug, info, warn, or error. These are defined by your code. You have to choose what level of the message that you want to log. Is it an error? Is it a warning? Is it an information? Is it a debug? And then here you can specify whatever message you want. Okay, so here we have the name of the logger, or so the name of the logger is exactly the name of the class here. Okay, so so now I will show you these levels and how they are um, organized. So let's look at these files. For example, log4j properties. Maybe not this one. I have, yes, this is the order of priorities. So so fatal is the highest level of logging messages that you can use. Fatal means, so you use this whenever you want to log a message when there is something very, very dangerous that happened. for example, something that will crash your application or something that will cause your system to completely go wrong. For example, something that will make you lose money or lose data or something very, very, very dangerous. So here you log that event using Fatal. Uh, for other errors, you use error. Then for warnings, things that should not happen, but if they happen, we don't consider that they are errors. So you use warnings. Then for these things are the definition is not very, very formal. For information, so this is some information that you want to see for something that may be that may have some importance um, when the code is executing, and that may be useful to see. For example, if you are storing something in a database, you want to see that the data was stored, so you can use info. Debug is used when you want to debug your program. You want to follow the value of some variable. You want to see what function was called and so on. You can add debug messages. Trace is lower than debug. Um, is just to trace things that happen. So the definitions, of course, here are very loose. They are not very formal, and all means that here you want to see everything. So when, for example, look at this here. When you configure a debugger or no debugger, you have to choose what is the minimum level you want to see. So here, for example, if we choose debug, this means that we want to display all of these levels from debug and up. If you change this to info, you will only log the messages from info and up. Normally in production, you only display these messages from warning to fatal. Okay, so in production you would change this to warn, but in development you may uh, uh, put it to info, but sometimes if you want to debug, you can choose to use debug or trace or even all. So all is not uh, is just the lowest level of all. Okay, so now as you can see, when I am logging these messages, I here by using this function .debug, I am setting the level of the logging message I want to log. Okay, so you have these different functions that you can use, and depending on the situation where you are, okay, you may want to choose different levels. Okay, so now as you can see, we have um, displayed these messages, but now we are not using any configuration file. So this is the library that we have chosen here is doing everything. So let's look at another library. I will remove this, and then I will install, I will add another dependency instead of this. I will use log4j12. Okay, so it's developed by the same organization that develops SLF4j, which is Apache. Okay, so that's why here it has the same group ID. And then SLF4j log 4j12, and then the version is the same as SLF4j. Okay, I add it, now I save, then I have to rebuild. So clean package. Then I want to modify this. I will rename this file to file, and this one I will rename it to log4j dot properties. Okay, so log4j needs this configuration file so that it can work properly. Okay, so let's look at this file. So this file is first of all setting the level of messages we want to display. So here I will choose all so that um, I display uh, everything. Okay, so here set root logger level. Okay, so this sets the threshold for all loggers. So every class has its own logger. So I have to set it this also to all. Now here I am setting the appender. So this is the appender. First of all, I will let me rename this file to something else to show you that now if I execute the application, it will tell me that no appenders could be found for the logger, which means that this logger this logger log4j needs an appender. The appender is the class or the object that will be writing the messages uh, somewhere, either in the console or in the database or in the file. So you can choose any appender you want. As you can see, we don't have to do anything in the code. The code doesn't know which appender will be used. Okay, we just need um, to specify that in the log4j.properties file. Because I renamed these files to dash console dash file, log4j could not find them. So it could not find any appender. So let's rename this file to log4j.properties. Okay. Now log4j will find this appender and it will use it. So this appender is a console appender, which means that it will append, it will write in the console, and then it will use uh, yeah, I mean how the messages are written. They will be it will be use this class to write the messages, and this class you have to define a pattern so that you can define how the message will be written. So here these symbols are understood by log4j12. So %d is the timestamp. %p means that this is the priority. I mean, trace, debug, info, إلى آخره, and so on. %t, this is the thread. So currently we only have one thread in this application. It's the main thread. Then this is %c. This is the name of the class. Then here you have the message %m, and %n means that we need to add line break. Okay, so let's execute this. Okay, now you can see that we are displaying everything, all the messages, debug, info, warn, and so on. So let's change this to info. So I don't know which one is has higher priority, this one or this one. Usually it's the more specific one that has the highest priority. So let's I modified the more generic one. So apparently both have an influence on which rules are or which logging messages are applied or displayed. So as you can see here, only messages starting from the info level are displayed. Okay, So if we are in production, usually we just want the warning messages to be displayed. We don't want the others. So as you can see here, we only have these that have been displayed. Okay. Okay. So now, so this is um, how we can display on the console. But let's use the other appender. So let's rename this back to console, and let's rename this to log4j.properties. Let's look at the file first. So this is the file appender. So here, as you can see, we are using a file appender, which means that this will write directly into a file. Here we are specifying the the threshold for this logger, which is warn. Let's change this to all. Here we are specifying a variable log. So this is the directory in which we will create the file. Okay, so this is just a variable that we are specifying, but here we are specifying the path to the file that in which we will be writing. So this syntax here means that we will replace, we will inject here this string here. So we will concatenate this string with slash log.out. So the name of the file is log.out, and the name of the directory is this one. We'll use the same pattern layout for the messages, and this is the pattern that we'll be using. So now, if I execute, so I did not modify anything in the code or the dependencies, so I don't have to um, to re to recompile. I just need to restart my application. Okay. So as you can see here, we don't have any logging messages anymore, but we can go here to this file folder logs slash app slash log4j, and this is our file. We can open it using. So as you can see, we have a lot of old messages. I will remove them, and then I will re-execute so that we see the new messages only. So as you can see, we have these messages. So debug info warn error. If we change this to error, okay, so we will only display um, debug info warn. So only this logging message will be displayed. If we restart our application, as you can see, we only added this line here. Okay, so this appender will append the messages one after the other, and as you can see, we have here the timestamp, the priority, the name of the class, and then the debug message. Okay, so that's how you can use um, the logging, and how you can execute it um, using Eclipse, and how you can import the different concrete loggers using Maven. Okay, so thank you very much. I will stop here.